Now I understand that we're live. Actually, we're here for the first part of our first virtual ComicCon. There I go. Look at that. I'm on the spotlight, which is great. So yeah, ComicCon has now officially begun. So all of those around the world who've been waiting for ComicCon to start, you can put on your superhero outfits right now because I've got mine. Oh, I forgot mine. Well, we'll have somebody else in later that I'm sure will have a superhero outfit on. Maybe one of the characters like Roadrunner or Coyote or one of the others. But welcome to the next, I guess, in the line of Creativeside chats. Something that we started, I guess, almost 4 months ago, and with the idea being that we are hosting these webinars, these fireside chats, but on creativity, on Chuck Jones, on anything that that makes us smile a little more in these days. So today our special guest is someone very special to me, and we're celebrating the birthday, the celebration of my mom. I always like it when we celebrate my mom, because without my mom, I'm not so much here. So thank you, Mom, for at least getting something going on here in my life, and lots more. With that said, let's bring my mother in and welcome her. So the big round of applause as she comes in. There's hello, Mother.
Hello, son.
Yeah,
How are you?
it feels like a Monday.
You're live. I can see you're live.
I know. You know, a Monday. What people probably don't know is that my mother and I have coffee together on just like this on Monday mornings. So it's kind of a nice tradition that we've been doing for many, many Mondays now. So I feel like I should have coffee, but it's 5 o'clock in the evening, so maybe I won't get coffee today. So where exactly are you, Mother? I know where you are, but you might as well let everybody else know where you are.
I am at home. I am in my office, my home office. And I suddenly realized that I don't have Chuck Jones art behind me. But I love horses, so this is the best I could do. Now, I have a unicorn. The white one is a unicorn, and the other one is just a beautiful horse. And Robert Vavra photographs. And I am in my own office where I do all of my desk work, and I have since, I don't know, what, 2002?
I don't know if it's me or if it's her that's freezing up, but
am I freezing?
You're not hearing her either. We're gonna wait for just a minute. Hard to tell what's going on. I do like the sort of strumming sound that I'm hearing. So I don't know whether or not I'm talking over you, Mother, or that I'm having a problem on my side. But you know, Scott Ryder.
I can hear Linda.
I see that some people are, can you hear me?
Oh, I'm back.
Ben?
I can hear you both.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, I was gone for a second. My everything went gobbledygook, so it all it works good. So okay.
Now I can hear you, Craig, but I can't see you.
Well, that's probably safer that way, because I'm hibernating in the bunker underneath Taco Bell in Pacoima. So yeah, where I'm doing my personal distancing for sure. So
there you are. Okay, now I see you.
I'm here. Well, you know, we're here to celebrate many things, including your birthday, which is coming up. You're going to be 38.
I'm going to be well, yeah, 38 if you're dyslexic.
Oh, okay.
If you're looking in a mirror, 38 is pretty close to what I will be on Saturday. Yeah, Bugs Bunny and I have almost a common birthday.
Yeah, I always get them confused on which one's which, but I know you come first always, because you were born first before Bugs Bunny, and then so that kind of puts the July 25th and the July 27th, and Bugs is a youngster. I mean, he's only 80 this year, right?
That's what I hear. Yeah, I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to him today yet, this year, but
okay.
But my understanding is that if he's honest, you know, and a lot of people don't like to tell their age. So if he's honest, he'll be proud of the idea that he's 80 years old.
How someone's safer that you cannot see Craig. Oh, Bill Heater's, you know, seconding the idea that you and I shouldn't necessarily be able to see each other, but that's okay. Mondays will come soon enough. But so 1937 is a pretty good year to be born, I figure. Am I right? I mean, does it feel like that was the case? Looking back on 1937 and beyond?
Let's see. I'm getting weird messages here. 1937, I'm afraid I don't remember anything about 1937. I'm sure it was a good year seeing I was born in it. One interesting thing about the folks that my parents were hanging out with during those years is that I was the only child. That because it was the middle of the Depression, a lot of young people were not having children. And so at the studio, there were a few. Sybil Freeling was born, I think, a week before or a week after I was, same year. And so there were the two of us, but there weren't very many. It was 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years later that the folks in the studio started having children. And after the Depression was over. So so I was not only an only child in my own family, but I was an only child in the social family that my parents were in. I think you may be frozen.
I think Craig is frozen.
Shall I keep talking? I can't hear anyone.
My apologies. I'm having lots of connection issues back here, I think.
Okay. Craig, are you there? I can keep
He's
talking.
having some connection issues.
Okay.
I'm having serious technical difficulties back here in the bunker. I'm sorry. You know, we may need, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hear you now, yes.
Okay, thanks, Scott. So, you know, we may need to bring Ben up if I keep dropping out. I mean, I'm in this special place to share some things later on, but maybe we can share some things. I know that you found a few things that I'd never seen before to be able to share. And so maybe Scott Ryder can start to share some of the things that he's got queued up here, and then you can tell what they are, because some of them I've never seen. Can you spotlight some of those, Scott? Maybe just go through them one at a time.
Okay, this one, can everybody see this one now? There it is.
Go.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's go through them one at a time.
All right, this is there was a birthday party for me when I was 17 years old, and Chuck did signs all over the house, and I think I have 2 of them, and I think we were going to show the other one as well. But I want to talk about this one just a little bit because the reason that he talks about dogs of distinction is that we had a Great Dane at that time. His name was Squire. He was an what do you call it? Natural. He had not been changed like dogs almost all are now. And and he was a wonderful, wonderful, friendly, lovely dog. And but he was so stately and so distinguished. My father liked to call him a dog of distinction. So this was the card from Squire, Dogs of Distinction. 17-1 was because I was 17. This was another one of the signs that was around the house. And one of the, oops, now we're going to jump backwards. This was 1943. This was a picture my father drew of me on my first day of first grade when I walked off to school. As Craig can attest from my having talked about it probably way too often, I walked about a mile to school when I was 6. And we didn't have snow, and I didn't walk through the snow, but it was a very long walk for a 6-year-old, and it was downhill, then flat, and then uphill to school. So I walked downhill and uphill both ways, which sounds like a story, but it's really true.
And is that the path that you took me on to the school that you drove us when we were up in LA?
Yes. Yeah.
That was,
lived on.
it felt like longer than a mile. I have that sped up video somewhere. And for you, it's 6. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I walked by myself. And that was my lunchbox. It was like a construction worker's lunchbox. It was actually quite a bit bigger than that. But it's a pretty picture. I love
Smaller than that.
Cute. This is not a very good photo, but it is the photo I've got. This is when this is my mother, Dorothy, my father, Chuck, and I at a square dance. And I think there's another picture too of us at a square dance. My father emceed, oh, there it is, a lot of the square dance. He didn't call, he wasn't a caller, but they did a lot of dancing, and he emceed a lot of the conventions, and I did calling. And this particular picture was my debut as a square dance caller. I think I was 16. This is my mother and me when we lived in Belmont, Massachusetts, and that little boy there is Craig's brother, Todd, his older brother, Todd, obviously in the winter. My father took me to San Francisco on the occasion of my 13th birthday. And he took me up there to the Fairmont Hotel. And this dress I have on was what's it called? It's like a satin, and it was pink stripes. And boy, look at that hairdo. It's really cute, huh?
It's a great hairdo.
He took me out to breakfast. He took me out to lunch. He took me out to dinner at very fancy restaurants. This was at the restaurant at the top of the Fairmont. And it was kind of a coming of age trip. He did that. He did things like that. It was wonderful. This was, how about that airplane? That was the airplane we were going on. That was a trip that my mother and father and I took to Spokane, Washington. And I think that must have been about 1946, right after the war. And they were flying small planes to different places. I remember it. I started flying when I was very young, probably 3 or 4 years old. So I wasn't afraid of flying at all. But this particular trip I remember because it was very, very, very bumpy. And it actually fell several hundred feet at a time and things. And it was an exciting trip. but it's pretty cute. You know, you could just go out and sit on the airway and then get on the plane and then get off the plane, walk around the airfield and stuff in those days. Most of you have seen this picture before. This was taken about a week after the Academy Awards when 2 of the pictures Chuck directed were won Oscars. One of them was For Sentimental Reasons, and the other one was So Much for So Little, a documentary. So we got to have 2 different. He didn't get to keep these, although you can't tell because you don't know him that well. But he was pretty angry the night these pictures were taken. The producer said he could bring them home for 24 hours and no longer. And he wasn't very happy about that. But for the photographer, he managed to smile. I see that I was missing some teeth. This is when we lived in Manhattan Beach. I got, during the time we lived there, I had this huge sandbox in the front. No, I didn't use it as a sandbox. But we lived right on the Strand. So this beach was right, went right down to the ocean. So we lived right on the front. That is not our house. Our house is over to the left of the picture and out of the picture. My mother and father and I. And sitting right in front of the wall in Manhattan Beach, and we spent a lot of time down there. And my mother didn't have the problem, but I and my father both have a lot of skin cancer. Probably because we spent so much time on the beach in Manhattan Beach. I started writing when I was about 3 years old, and my Aunt Dorothy, yes, my mother and my aunt were both named Dorothy Jones. My Aunt Dorothy had horses, my father, and she bought them and she kept them down in Ramona for most of those early years. And then and I'm trying to think, I think I was 10 or 11. My father bought himself a horse and me a horse, and we did a lot of riding. This was up in Palos Verdes when I was writing English. And my little horse was named Rigger. He was a Morgan type little horse, a nice little horse. And my father's horse was a very large American saddle horse named Lord Mischief. And later on, when it was necessary for us to sell Rigger, Lord Mischief became my horse. And many of you have seen pictures of me on Lord Mischief, and Chuck did a wonderful painting of Bugs Bunny on Lord Mischief.
You know, one of the things that question came up, you know, that all these pictures of you with Chuck growing up, obviously young like this, and then as you've gotten into teenager years, and I know you've been asked many times, but what was it like growing up with him as a father and him doing what he did?
Well, as many people who have, well, if you have a father and your father works, or even if your father doesn't work, it generally one thinks this is the way things are. It didn't really occur to me that it was anything special. My father got up in the morning, he had breakfast with me and my mother. He went off to work, and he came home in the evening, and we had dinner. The three of us had dinner, and almost every night. And so it was a very normal sort of life. My mother took care of the house and of me. And so I really didn't think much. And of course, he wasn't famous. Nobody knew any names. The only names people knew during those years, during the 40s and early 50s, in animation, were Walter Lantz and Walt Disney. Really no one else. They didn't know any of the others. And of course, you also have to remember that we only saw the cartoons in the theaters. There was no television, and there was no repeats. You saw the cartoon until the mid 40s, when they started showing cartoons on Saturdays at the theaters. You didn't see cartoons over and over and over again. You saw them once, and that was it. So many of the cartoons I never saw until later. But
so you didn't get to see any at home? You didn't have projection of his films or anything like that when you were growing up?
No, we didn't have a projector or a screen or anything at home. I never saw a cartoon at home. The best
Huh.
the best I saw at home was that about every 5 or 6 weeks, when he would finish a film, he would come home and tell me, instead of reading out of an Oz book or Mark Twain or something else, he would act out the whole film. And so he would, I would get all ready for bed, and I'd get in bed, and then he would come in and he would start the story and act out the whole film, doing all the voices. And sometimes he would get up on the dresser and fall off onto the bed. And so I got a personal one-man show of the cartoons, not all of them, but now and then. And
Were there any that of the stories that you remember that later you reflected on? I remember when I saw that cartoon that was a story that you remember.
No, I don't know why he fell off. I don't know why he fell off the dresser on the bed, unless it was a Roadrunner and Coyote. So maybe that was one of them. But no, I don't remember them. I just remember being entertained. And the thing is that, and another thing about my father's work was that I was really, really happy that he was doing what he was doing, because I thought it was really fun. I mean, he drew with me. He drew for me. He was funny. He was thoughtful. He listened to me. He treated me with respect. He treated me as if he could learn something from me, as well as teach things to me. He was my best friend, and so I thought it was, and his work seemed to me to be a wonderful thing. There was only one little girl that I knew whose father had a job that I thought was better than my father, and her father ran a bakery, and she could go in, and we did often after school. We'd go in after school, and he'd give us each a cookie. So that was better than my father, because we could get a free cookie. Um, and the bakery there, all the stores in Manhattan Beach, it was a tiny little town. It was a one horse town. It was a one street town. We had a grocery store, we had a dime store, we had a drugstore, we had a bakery, a hardware store, and a library, and everybody. It was like a little tiny town. So when your father owned the bakery, that was a big deal.
So do you know, someone asked whether if Chuck had a favorite film, not the character this time, but a favorite film that he either made or didn't make. I don't know. We can interpret any way we want to. It's our show.
I don't know. I think he felt pretty good about What's Opera Doc. He put a lot into that. The ones that he chose to show when he was speaking were the ones that most of us are most familiar with. What's Opera Doc, and 24th and a Half Century, and Duck Amuck, and the ones that have mainly survived and become favorites of a lot of people. So but he always said that any endeavor, any worthwhile endeavor, there are two things he said, but one of them was that you can't finish it, that you have to abandon it. And in order, there was always something that he felt he could have done better, or that he would have liked to have fixed or changed or something. So I think he was satisfied, as much as an artist can be satisfied with a finished work. other films, he admired good films. He admired Hitchcock. He admired, he admired the great directors, and he studied them. As you know, he had a lot of books.
There's a lot of books.
Thousands of books. We always had thousands of books, and he was brought up with hundreds and thousands of books. One of his stories that I think he tells in one of his books is that that they always rented houses because they couldn't afford to buy houses. But when he was growing up, that his father always looked for a house that was furnished and that had books. And after the parents and the children had read all the books, they'd go find another house with lots of books. So he also started going to the library very early. So he learned to read very early, and he read thousands and thousands of books. And because he had what I don't know what the technical term is, perfect recall, or what some people call a photographic memory, he
Yes.
would remember everything. And he, in fact, in the last few months of his life, when he was pretty sick and pretty debilitated, he lost that ability, and he could only remember the kinds of things that the rest of us remember. It made him really angry. And so we all told him, join the human race, dear. He didn't know what it was like not to be able to remember everything. And one of the stories that I often tell, and most of you have heard, but for those who haven't, one of our games, and we had many, but one of our games when I was growing up was that I would go and get a book, any book, anywhere in the house, out of the thousands, and I would tell him the title of the book, and he would tell me the first line of the book. So it was quite an amazing game. Somebody said, "Did you watch cartoons at home?" And
I've lost my audio.
and then it says,
Something good.
"Did you watch cartoons at home? And does Linda have one?" I don't know. Have one what? I mean, I think it's talking to you.
I think Linda, it's, do you have a favorite cartoon of yours? An all-time favorite film?
Heater that says, "Did you watch cartoons at home? And does Linda have one?" Oh, Linda have one, a favorite. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Ben. I do have a favorite. My favorite is Robin Hood Daffy. I almost wet my pants every time I see the Porky Pig scene. I just can't stand it. It's so funny, the laughing scene, and the quarterstaff scene. That whole section and the whole picture. It just drives me crazy. I absolutely love it.
There's a reason that I was in the bunker. I knew it. When I walked.
Look at you.
Look at that. Can you
What?
see that?
Finally.
Oh, hang on. I think I've got a green screen on. Let me turn it off. And none. Yeah. When you said that, this is what I thought you'd like.
There you are. Yes. Oh, that's wonderful.
Anyway. See?
Thank you.
Name another one. Name something else.
Well, I also like Nellie's Folly. I don't think you've got that on hand, but I do love Nellie's Folly. It's one of my, the not so famous, not so popular ones of Chuck's, but that giraffe. I love giraffes anyway. Giraffes are my favorite wild animal, I think. And Nellie's Folly is a sweetheart. I just love her.
So what other birthday cards did you send us, if there are any other ones in there?
I sent you one for my 45th birthday. with Pepe Le Pew. Oh, I think he's got a different one up there. I think he's got
Oh, the 15. Is that your 15th birthday, Scott? Let's put that big.
I don't know. I can't remember when it was.
Well, we named it Linda at 15, so I'm assuming that that was the case because it says 1952.
Well, that would be 15. So
Okay, good.
yeah,
Well,
I love that drawing of that's my favorite style of Wiley.
with that droopy nose and the things. Oh yes, this is your.
This was, yeah, and it doesn't immediately indicate that I'm 45, but it
I
is.
think it's 40.
40 is the old age of youth and the youth of old age. Today you are 5, so that meant I was 45.
Oh, got it. I missed that the whole time for the last 43 years or 40 whatever years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a sweet one, and it has unfortunately faded a bit.
Oh, well, it's still beautiful.
And I think when you did the giclée, didn't you do a giclée of this? I think you did a giclée of this, and it was pumped up a little bit back to the way it was when it was new.
I don't remember. My memory is not like Chuck's.
No, mine either.
There was a couple other photos that you sent over that we might want to share.
Okay, this one has a couple of things about it. One is that it's just such a sweet pose. It's so dear, and I love that he was down on the floor with me. That's so cute.
So you're about 1 there, right?
I would say I was about 1.5, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All
would
of
guess,
26.
because I was walking really well, and I started walking when I was about 10 months old. So.
That's pretty nutty to think of Chuck, what he looks like at 26 or 27 years old.
Yeah. The teddy bear that, wait, go back if you can. Can you go back?
Scott can do anything.
I know. The teddy bear that Chuck is holding was one that my mother, it was the only toy she had when she was adopted. And so that became my teddy bear. But it was a teddy bear that was from the early 1900s. And in those days, the teddy bears were really prickly, and they were filled with straw or something really hard. They were not cuddly at all. And it did have moving arms and legs. And I had it up until, I don't know when, probably high school. And I don't know what happened to it. But that was an antique teddy bear, that was from the Theodore teddy bear, Theodore Roosevelt teddy bear.
That's amazing.
This one, Chuck,
There's one.
I'm sure those of you who are following Chuck's career know that he did a half-hour picture with Walt Kelly. So he got to know Walt Kelly. He actually had met Walt Kelly before when Walt was working at Disney and Chuck was working at Warner's. In fact, I think they may have known each other at the Disney strike. I'm not sure about that. But later on, when he was making this film, when Chuck and Walt were making this film, Walt used to come over to our house for dinner. And so one night, my father asked Walt if he would draw a picture for my children, for Todd, Craig, and Valerie. And, Chuck drew pictures for thousands of people. Almost anytime anybody would ask him to draw a picture, he drew a picture. And he usually just drew it on a napkin or on a scrap of paper or something. Well, Walt Kelly was not like that, and he said, he grudgingly said he would, and he went off into another room in our house. He went off into another room for about 45 minutes. And when he came back,
Yeah.
he had this picture and he thrust it at my mother. And he said, "This is the best I can do."
He didn't like being put on the spot.
I think he might have been just a little bit drunk, but
Oh,
but it's a
well.
wonderful drawing, and I'm so glad we have it. It's a
Great. I'm just not sure what we're gonna do with it once you know, you give it to one of us, because I guess Todd gets it because he came up with the concept for that film. So yeah, the family birthday. I'm still bitter. He got paid $100 for that idea, and
Yeah.
he got a Brooks Brothers suit and
Yeah.
got to go meet Kelly.
Yeah, got pictures in the TV Times.
Not that I remember that or I'm bitter about it at all. I'm fine.
This one, when he was doing the Curiosity Shop, he got to know Johnny Hart very well, and they liked each other a lot, and my mother and got to know him too, and so Johnny did a cartoon for my mother, and it's he did a lot of ant picture and a lot of ant strips, and this one it shows the little ants starting the snowball, and then ending it with E equals MC squared, which I thought was really cute. A little hard to see. It's very light.
What did the caption say?
E equals MC squared.
But in the caption below, something about the for everything.
Oh, thanks for everything. Let's see. Thanks, Dorothy, I think it says, for everything.
Got it. Okay, so speaking of that's hey, another one.
Yeah, and this was an original poem that Walt did for my mother.
Oh,
You
I don't
see-
know if I've ever seen that. My screen is a little blurry. Can you read that? I can't.
Yeah, it says that for Dorothy, Brunswick stew. You say that you like Brunswick stew. What I like too is rabbits too, and chickens too, and guppies too, and rabbits too, and puppies too. A Brunswick true is to me new. By me unknew is Brunswick's too.
That's pretty fun.
It is.
Say that very quickly. That's a difficult.
Well, yeah, and the spellings are all different. Every Brunswick is different. Every one is differently.
So somebody asked the question, what kinds of wisdom in his life and his work that he had, that he sort of shared? And I mean, there seems like there's a lot, but what ones come to mind when you think of Chuck and wisdom and sharing?
Well, I almost referred to it earlier, and I will certainly refer to it now because I think it applies to everything. And he shared it with me early and often. He said any worthwhile endeavor should be 95% work and 5% love, and only the love should show. And I think that's right. I think that's absolutely right. I think when we start forcing people to acknowledge that we've put a huge amount of work into something, that excuse me, that it takes a bit of the shine off. So I like the idea of you know, there are people who run companies where only the love shows, and you know that they work incredibly hard and long, and they do things that are courageous and difficult, and yet when you look at it and you look at them, it looks like they have loved doing it, and certainly most of, I think all of the artists that we've ever represented in our company have followed that. Well, almost all of them. there are some where you
It's a
look
good track record.
you look at the art and only the love shows. If they start
Yeah.
talking about it, sometimes they make a big deal about how much work it was.
And it was a lot of work. I mean, I totally understand that. I mean, Chuck, because I'd ask him about an oil painting, the progress of it, which I only asked maybe once, and then I learned not to ask, and that they would just show up when they're ready. But months sometimes would go by, and then I would finally see the finished product, the one that he was working on for such a long time, and I didn't really understand what an arduous process that was. But as far as wisdom, I will say, I mean, that yours is more beautiful than the one that really resonates with me, because I remember him, clearly saying, "Don't ever get into a pissing contest with a skunk."
That's a big one. That's
I
really an
just,
important one.
yes,
I think
you're
that's
that.
great ones. Yeah, I think if you don't remember anything else in life, that's probably the best piece of advice anybody can ever give anybody. No, and there's another part to it. Never get into a pissing contest with a skunk, because you'll lose.
Point. Well, I love the artistic one that I've heard from, I bet you, a dozen different artists, animators, mentees of Chuck's, that says that they always remember that he said, you can never caricature a fish. And I remember even one gentleman quoting that, and there were others around him that had heard that from Chuck and known, and they said, but you know why, right? And one guy goes, well, no. He said, because if you try to caricature a fish, you draw another fish. And I thought it was the most brilliant thing in the world. And if you ever go down and search through the recesses of the deep, you'll see that there are more, no matter what you do to a fish, you've created another fish in the process.
That's right.
So,
And it's almost true for birds as well. If you, except for Dr. Seuss, who probably came up with some birds that don't exist, but
yeah.
but there are some very, very peculiar looking birds.
Yeah, but there's something about fish with the monster eyes, and because they defy gravity,
That's
literally,
yeah.
they can grow any parts of their body into very bizarre things.
Yeah.
Luminescence, and I've never seen a bird. I probably will get a message at some point that says that I'm totally wrong, but I've never seen a bird who's luminescent and can have their own light fixture, like in the Pixar film Finding Dory.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's such a brilliant thing. If you're down 2,000 feet, you better have your own lighting supply. So, I mean, I find that way when I get into like dark places and don't know what to do next. But
See, there's somebody from Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania that says hi. That's wonderful. Chuck got one of his honorary doctorates at Edinburgh. We had some wonderful, wonderful times there.
there's some wonderful video of him out there. I think I haven't seen it in a long time, but let's see. There was also a question: did Chuck ever think of doing other feature films? So he only did the one feature film, The Phantom Tollbooth. The other ones were short subjects, but they were epics. There was a sea epic, by Daffy Duck, but really Phantom Tollbooth, if I remember right, it was the only feature film that he did. He did So Much for So Little was a little longer, right? 20 minutes or so, and then the television specials were half an hour television specials.
I think the So Much for So Little was a bit longer, like, yeah, maybe 20 minutes, something like that. He did have one in mind. He had several in mind, but one particular one was called Barnaby Scratch. And it was a First World War story about an English cat. And of course he and my mother wrote the Gay Paris, and he designed some of those characters, even though it was done by another studio.
Someone asked, what do we think of today's cartoons compared to Chuck's cartoons?
Well, like always, there is such a, like always has been, there are a vast difference between one kind of cartoon and another. What Pixar is doing and what Blue Sky is doing, and what some of the other companies are doing,
Great.
the main thing is whether it's a good movie or not. Whether it's a good movie. It isn't about whether it's animated or not. It's whether it's not only a good story, but a good movie. And whether the characters and the production values and everything about it is a good movie, then it's a good movie. So there are some good movies that are animated, and certainly there's a big crossover now with so much CGI and everything kind of crossing over. In some cases, it's kind of hard to tell what's an animated film and what isn't. But
Good point.
but I think that he would be very, as he was, very, very admiring of John Lasseter and Chris. The last name is going out of my head, from Blue Sky.
Yep.
Some of the other animated films, and of course some of the Japanese animated films are just spectacular and wonderful. Jim, could you do something with that answering phone, please? Take it off the hook or something.
Chris Wedge.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
I did have one of those things in there. That was good.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things when I used to ask Chuck how his memory worked. When I would ask him, I would give him the title of a book, and then he'd tell me the first line of that book. I said, "How did you do that? What happens in your head that you can do that?" And he said, well, and some of you are way too young to know this, but in the olden days, in libraries, they used to have card catalogs, thousands and thousands and thousands of cards, and the cards were in different kinds of order. You could look them up by title, you could look them up by author, you could look them up by Dewey Decimal System number, you could look them up by topic, and so each book had lots of cards in these long drawers, and they were like postcard size. And he said, when you give me the title of the book, he said, I go to the title of the book in the card catalog, and I open it up to the title, and there's the first line of the book.
What a great filing. So it's more about the filing system than it is the recall. That's as long as you have a good filing system.
That's right.
I
To the end of the hour, aren't we?
well, pretty close, but I was wondering, since one of the things that you love to do and that I know you're not getting to do as often as you like these days with our seclusion, but I know you're doing things over at some of the filing areas, and you love to go through things and look at things and file things, organize things. But I don't think you've been over here in the bunker for a little while. So I thought, in celebration of your birthday, Bugs Bunny's birthday, all of the collaboration with, and I'll call it a collaboration, your collaboration with Chuck, you did collaborate with Chuck quite a bit in the 80s and 90s and all of that. What was that like before I take you on a memory tour here?
Well, it was fabulous. I loved working on those films. Of course, we worked together from the 60s, from the time I moved back to California in the early 60s. I worked for him in his office a lot, and then when I started the business, the animation art business, we worked together a lot too. But it was really, really wonderful to work together and making the films. Doing the Stay Tuned and the Mrs. Doubtfire and the 6 Warner Brothers films that we made. It was just marvelous to be able to work together with him in that way. It was terrific. There's
Great.
I wanted to show you too. So what?
Oh, go ahead.
You get your stuff out, and I'm going to just hop around to the other side of the desk and get a couple of things that I just realized I'd like to show you.
I do like that you're going to hop around. I think it's perfect.
Hop around. So, okay, I'll be right back.
Maybe I can share some of this as it goes. Let's see if I can do this. There, and maybe this way. I don't know. Let's do that and do this because it's hard for me to tell. Okay, let's see. All right, hey, look, there's a sculpture. So Chuck did that sculpture, the bronze. He lost his arm, but I think we have the arm somewhere. So somewhere at some point that will get recalibrated. But I'm in one of the archive areas here, and I'm going to walk away. And Mother, if you can maybe say, you know, I'm just going to open some random drawers and see what is in here. So it looks like, oh, okay. So that's, can you see that?
Yeah,
with Raggedy
Ann. That's from one of the Raggedy Ann.
That's kind of
3 Raggedy Ann ones he did.
That's kind of fun, little thing. You organize these drawers better than I, but there's.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Rhodes Scholars. Copley Square, 3,200 miles away. That's kind of fun. Yeah, that's
yes, Harvard, huh?
Yeah, and wait a minute. Ooh, there's a couple of cool little things in here. I'm looking at. Oh,
can't we go on longer? This is so fun.
Are these all originals?
well, yeah, Ben, they kind of are. So if you want to ask some questions, you're more than welcome to.
I'm in a drool, and it's a good thing I'm not there in person because I wouldn't want to get it on the pieces.
Look at that.
What's the one?
I've ever seen that one. I think it has to do, maybe it has to do with the same thing. Everybody coming together. But look, how to make a cartoon on a storyboard. That's kind of fun. I know that the
kind of fun. Could we see more of that?
Yeah. Here, let me see if I can pull it out. Hang on.
Don't tear it.
So Linda, I've got a question for you. As Craig's pulling out, where has all this been? So as Craig's pulling this stuff out, given we're celebrating Bugs's 80th birthday, and you've been involved with Chuck, especially pulling together incredible works of art when you guys started Linda Jones Enterprises and everything that came from that. Could you? I love What's Opera Doc, and I love that piece that we got the Giclée that he did. When you started out, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the first female publisher, is that correct? Female owned?
You mean for animation art?
Yes.
Yeah, for limited editions, I was the first. The signed limited. Yeah, Disney was selling animation art at Circle Fine Art galleries and at Disneyland. There was no other There was just Disneyland then. And then there were a couple of others. There was a guy whose name is
Lanesburg.
Gallery Lanesburg started in the 70s, and she didn't produce anything. She just sold
Right.
things. So Disney and well, I don't think anybody else was producing anything.
I don't think so.
The reason
this-
we started producing was because Warner Brothers had destroyed so many of the cells, and so I was horrified to hear that so many of the cells were gone, and we had quite a lot from the 70s because Chuck had never given them to Warner Brothers, so we had a whole bunch of them. But I mean, it turned out that they were his, that legally they were his, but he didn't know that. He thought they were Warner Brothers, but he just didn't want Warner Brothers to lose them. So he kept them, and then it turned out they belonged to him after all. So so we had those, but when we found out that so many of the millions of cells from the big cartoons had been burned, I went to him and I said, well, I don't know, people want these things. And he said, that's okay, I'll just draw some new ones. So that's how the limited edition started.
So when you were collaborating with Chuck on pieces, like there's several that, I mean, I love a lot of his painting style. And if you look at Bugs with, and I forget which one, I forget what the name is, but it's Gossamer, he's doing Gossamer's nails.
Uh-huh.
And I love that piece, love the What's Opera Doc piece and that raw style. How did you collect, was it just Chuck creating whatever he wanted and that's what made it in, or did you two go back and forth on some concepts?
Are you talking about limited edition cells, or are you talking about oil paintings?
Oil paintings.
Yeah, no, those were entirely up to him. He did whatever he wanted. He did whatever he was inspired to do. We didn't talk about it. In the beginning, we didn't even talk about selling them. He just was doing them because he loved it.
So as Craig's gonna pull out some more gold mines, I'm sure.
Hey,
Do you have a piece?
Do I have?
No, I'm asking Craig if he's digging in, and I keep seeing hands coming out with stuff.
yeah, here, let me, so as I'm coming over here, let me see. I've got,
Can we
This
go
is the-
over it all, or because we got 1 minute?
Yes, we can go over.
Yeah, okay.
And if people can hang out, like there's they can't kick us out of this one. We own the room. So what I love.
While you're doing that, I want to show you something I've been doing during this 3 or 4 months and I took some of Chuck's drawings and I transferred them to canvas. They're just pencil drawings that I found of his. And I transferred them to canvas and I painted them. And it's been so much fun. It's kind of like having a wonderful coloring book. So this is one of them.
oh, wow.
Ooh, look at that.
So that was one of his sketches.
Inspired by Jones, painted by Linda.
Yeah. And
Cool.
What medium did you use?
acrylic.
Love that.
This was one of his doodles. And I think he was doodling for Phantom Tollbooth, but it just ended up as a doodle.
Oh, see,
Oh.
now
I love that.
I love the color. I'm a huge fan of Chuck's doodles because there's so much imagination to them, and I love I have always loved his drawing style. That looks amazing.
It does.
So
This is the first I've seen. You guys are seeing it at the same time that I am. This is great.
doing this, nobody but Jim. And this one was a New Year's card. It was black and white. It was done in ink. I'm sorry, I don't remember the original year because I used it in several years. but it seems to me that it's really appropriate for 2020 and 2021.
That's fantastic.
So good. Uh,
I am really having fun with these things, and I intend to continue to do them.
they
So
look
I
great.
certainly hope you continue to do that.
Yeah.
yeah, see, I'm not
So
skilled.
no, you're not skilled. Are you kidding? Look what you did. So that begs the question. And I think a lot of children who grow up in homes, you know, where someone's really skilled at something, and in this case, Chuck, in filmmaking and art, you know, they're like, oh, well, when did you start drawing? And they kind of transfer that. Was there a period? Do you remember a time where you really enjoyed? Craig, what is that?
That question for a second. I just opened this. So obviously, she moved into the Gorham house.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, that
There's
was,
no.
and well, actually, yeah, I'm sure that was when she arrived.
Right. And clearly they were fresh out of seashells.
Ben, that's the same
Yes.
pool that he threw Todd and me in to test the sea lion
Yeah.
swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know that you were in a legendary pool with a topless mermaid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, in answer to
Good
your question, Ben, picture that I think Scott has put up there of me drawing. You said, is there a time when I felt what? What was the question?
Was there a time when you were growing up when, you know, you're obviously surrounded by Chuck and all the art that he's creating, and when you kind of took it on your own and you were like, "Ah, I really enjoy doing this," or you just sprouted off and started something?
I did like any other child. You know, I started drawing when I could pick up a crayon or something. No, the only difference between our home and some of my friends' homes was that what Chuck taught in parenting classes when he talked to teachers and parents. And he said that his parents, particularly his mother, had never judged the children's art. That they always said she always said things like, "Boy, you've used a lot of blue. Would you like to tell me about that?" Or "It looks like you're having a lot of fun," which was one of his favorites. But it mainly was a conversation starter, and that was true in my house. He and my mother didn't say, "Oh, that's a beautiful drawing." In fact, they never, as far as I can remember, they never put any of my drawings stuck up on the refrigerator or tacked to the wall. When they really liked one of my drawings, they framed it and hung it. And that was neat. But I didn't really find it my best way to communicate. Obviously, there are people who are so determined, like you, Ben, and my father, and a lot of other people, are so determined to insist that people understand what you want to say through your visual communication, that you'll do anything, even learn to draw. You'll learn all the hard parts, the really hard parts about how to make something look the way you want it to look. I was not that motivated, And so I became a decent amateur, what do you call it?
Graphic artist?
Artist. Yeah. But I don't have much to say. It very seldom occurs to me to say, I want to express myself in art. I'm much better at having somebody else do I want to say this, like these things that Chuck did, and that I can see something to embellish or to have fun with.
Well, maybe you can
Well,
talk about, your words are very good. This, I'm just, maybe, I don't know if you can see that one. Was that a Louis Lutz frame?
I think it probably was, but that's not the worst. That's not the best one of Louis. Yeah,
I don't know where the conundrum is,
yeah.
nails, but so my understanding is that Louis would create a frame.
Well, Louis, in this case, this may have been one of the ones but the one that the biggest story was, there's one that's kind of a blue abstract in a very tall, skinny frame that's similar to that.
Moon and Stars, yeah.
My mother had bought a print on canvas that she really loved. And she went out one night to go to her writing class or her dance class or whatever she went to. And she came home that night and he had painted over it because he liked the frame.
No.
She was not happy. We still have that. I don't know where it is. It's over there somewhere.
Okay, there was one that I know we published. Look at that. We can almost see each other. Called the Berlin, I think, whatever it was. So this guy, is that the Berlin landscape or something?
I think that's the Bonsai. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Beautiful. I really like that.
so I think we've published it, I don't know, 18 by 24 or 12 by 16 or something like that. It turns out this canvas is tiny. Look how small it is. I had no idea. I don't know if I've ever seen the original.
I love his original, his own stuff, like that Nescafe. What's the other one with the that you guys did on tile at one point too, and it was the courtyard or something.
Yeah, the Bus Q London.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are,
So here's a question: as we've got a whole, if people were clicking on that clicking on the Bitly link, right? There's an entire like montage of Bugs Bunny artwork that's in there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, but it's available for purchase. Yes.
there is a bunch of celebration artwork from for the Bugs Bunny's 80th, which it's out there, but it's 2 days. It's an entire 2 days after Linda's birthday. So, really I'm focused on my mother's birthday at this. But yeah, there's a bunch of things out there. And I know that there's going to be some new things kind of dropping in throughout the celebration time. And
Great.
it's amazing how popular Bugs Bunny continues to be. At one point, he was the most known character on the planet, and even surpassed Mickey Mouse, as Mickey Mouse sort of did his thing down for a little while. But Bugs Bunny, and I know there's a resurgence because I understand that there's a 10 new postal service stamps coming out, or maybe they've been released already. I thought I saw that at least four of them were Chuck cartoons, maybe 5 of them. So,
Great.
What's that?
That's great.
Yeah, no, there's and I just saw somebody who sent me a picture that they bought their daughter a a $3,000 denim shirt from Gucci with Bugs Bunny on it. So you got to love that Bugs Bunny is making, you know, that kind of impression on 15-year-old girls to wear that sort of sequin stuff. So he's.
So I'm wondering, have another piece you're working on right now that you could give us a little sneak peek on?
Who, Linda?
Yeah, there's the bug stamps.
So, do you have something in progress, Mother? The doodle that you're working on?
I just finished the New Year's one. I don't have any new ones.
No new. Well, maybe I can. I know we're just about out of time, but I'm going to see if I can find anything else that.
Find something that you think I would have fun with. Just send me. Send me.
I'm just.
Copy.
You never know what
So
you're going to get.
while Craig's looking for that, you know, you've obviously you've been around filmmaking for a long time. You've produced. Is there something that you find fascinating about animation today that you just find has, whether intellectually or just storytelling or character development, the stuff that Chuck and his team really poured into everything they did, that, you know, because there's a lot of minutia out there, but is there something that you really have found to be like, you know what, I really enjoyed that in current animation today?
I have to admit,
last 10 years.
probably a year. No, I did see them in 2019, but I haven't seen anything this year. So I can't comment. The thing that I believe that all of those early masters like Chuck and Frizz and the grand old men of Disney and some of the others from those years, the thing that they did was lay the groundwork for timing. And you know, that great animation and great stories and great characters, and they did all of that. But the thing that they did better and as well as anyone ever has is frame by frame, a 24th of a second. And well, the live action directors were working on that, not so much frame by frame as scene by scene, shooting things over and over and over again. But that discipline of whether something's funny with 16 frames or 18 frames or 24 frames or however, whatever it is, that's astonishing. And I think that the great directors now know that. And I think that's why their movies will bring us to tears of laughter, usually. Also, so they're standing on the shoulders of the masters, just like everybody does.
Well said. Very well said. Well, I know that we're 15 minutes over, so we capitalized 25% more. So see how I did the math right there? That was good. What if there's any more questions? We can certainly answer some later on. We can. Can
we do this again?
Never. Yeah, we could whenever you want to. I'm having fun. I mean, I'm not allowed to leave this room now because I'm the only one that knows where it is. So, yeah. Every time I look around, there's something even more cool that
I see in the chat that live bidding tonight, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time.
tonight. It's over in less than 3 hours. That's kind of wild. Okay. Yeah, there is a link there. All right.
So,
Bugs Bunny 80.
yeah, so if anybody doesn't have their chat up, take a look at their chat.
Beautiful. Hey, look, there's Bugs Bunny coming up. What kind of things are in there, Scott? Thank you.
Oh, look at that. I love that.
Yeah,
Oh, those are great.
these look old. Maybe a little newer. That's one of your films.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Huh.
That's a,
Eric
yeah. I'm not-
Scene.
Is that inspired off the famous pool mermaid that we saw earlier?
Oh, that's the
Hey.
ocean. That's Bugs and Drag
There you go.
again.
Sanson. Sanson.
Yeah, that looks like these are productions, so production drawings.
Oh, these are my all-time favorite, our production drawings.
Chuck's
No.
drawings, they're production drawings.
I love that cartoon.
That's
The all the animals is one of the greatest. The
when
music in
Bugs
there.
lost his neck.
Ooh. Ooh. Stop steaming up my tail.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, wow, look at that.
That's kind of like what I'm painting the drawings. I used to paint cells too.
For
Yeah, I didn't-
for limited editions.
Yeah. And of course, I did all the backgrounds in the beginning. They were all handmade, each one. For all the limited editions.
Right. So that comment you made earlier, oh, I don't know. I just kind of, right. You're pretty much really good at this.
I want to.
But I'm not a skilled drawer.
That's a,
I can't use the word art.
no, you can't. That's a no-no.
He loves the concept development, the posing.
Yeah, that's
That the ones that he'd come in to relish with us. He'd be, oh, look what's happening here.
I love.
The finish was fine for us, but he loved that process.
Yeah.
Super rabbit. The Dodger, or what does that say? The Phillies?
Terrifying power of our leadoff batter. These are for the comic ball cards.
Original drawings from the Comic Ball series in 91.
Right.
91. Wow. Huh. Huh. His look, the look on his face, that lip out.
That whole area around the eyes and nose and upper mouth, that's Chuck.
Yeah. No one could draw Bugs Bunny like that.
Yeah, and make him still look like Bug. Oops.
Jacket gun. Mohawk.
Where has this been? Where has all of this been?
No, I don't know. I've seen that one before, but it's been a long time.
Ben, there's so many surprises.
Wow. That's week. That's awesome. Well,
Going back to
well, Mother, thank you very much for joining us this evening from your studio. And
comment.
Ben, thank you for the assistance and the drooling all over the few little things that I was able to share. Next time
Yes.
we'll dip into the archive. Show things to celebrate. And, I'm looking forward to having coffee with you again on Monday, Mother.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it too.
May I
So
make one? May I make one final, and then you can go ahead and close it out. I just want to say, Linda, as it's your birthday, and not because it's your birthday, but especially for your birthday, I have had the great pleasure of getting to know you over the last decade, and it has been a sincere honor and delight because you have been one of the most gracious, kind, forthcoming with knowledge and advice and just how you view things. You've given so much of your time and your talent and your treasure for the growth of everyone's creativity. And I think we are all, and I know I am as an individual, better off for having the great honor of getting to know you. So I wanted to say a very sincere and loving happy birthday. I am so glad you're here, and I hope you outlive me.
Oh, thank you, Ben. That's so sweet. I love knowing you too.
that was well said, and I say that many people that are listening right now would second, third, fourth, fifth that, and I think we all appreciate you very much.
Oh, you made
Well
me.
said, as it should
Thank
be.
you.
Point. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Ben, for always being there by my side and helping out today and every day, and all you who came to visit, to join in with Mother at home and me in the bunker, and next time we'll continue the story. So we'll say good night, and we'll see you at the rest of the shows throughout the weekend. Same Zoom channel. We'll be here tomorrow, I believe, again at 5 o'clock. I think tomorrow is Marvel, and I'm marveling over Marvel. Ben will join us a little bit later on in the show, but it is going to be darn fun because there's nothing I like better than a Marvel film and a Marvel work of art. So have a great night.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Happy birthday.